Fred here, welcome back to the Gear Obsession channel. As some of you know, I do collect knives, and part of my collection is the Bear Grylls line. I have the compact Scout, folding sheath knife, which is okay, the ultimate survival knife, which I like, but where do you go up from here? Well, I'll show you in a minute. Well, if you're looking for a machete or looking for your next big knife for killing zombies, this is your video. This was or is my current machete. It's a Walmart special, costs like 10 bucks. I believe it's Appalachian Trail. It's complete garbage, relatively thin. At least it hasn't rusted. Came dull as sin. I had to redo the edge, and the handle is loose. I tried to tighten it and it strips out the screws. They just keep on turning. So complete garbage. And also, if you notice, there's nothing to protect your hand from slipping. And actually, when I grabbed this just before I brought this up here for videotaping, I actually almost dropped this and it slipped and my hand came here when I grabbed it, and it came really close to cutting me. So I do not recommend the Walmart special. It might also be sold under the Coleman name. I consider it dangerous. I wouldn't even use it for a starter machete if there's a such thing, and I wouldn't want my kid out there in his first camping trip with something like this. It is complete garbage, and so is the sheath. Let's get to what I'm reviewing, and that is the Bear Grylls Parang. So I picked this up at Dick's. The gentleman behind the counter, which I respect his opinion, he's never steered me wrong yet, actually highly recommended this. Of all the Bear Grylls products, he said this is probably the best one. So we'll see about that. So this is technically not called the machete, it's called a parang, but a parang is sort of a Indonesian equivalent of a machete. This is basically a modern version of a traditional Malaysian machete. Basically, I think during Bear Grylls, one of his shows, he was given this by a Malaysian tribesman. I don't really watch his show, so I don't know too much about Mr. Grylls. The parang is optimized for woody vegetation of Southeast Asia, so the shape is made especially for that area of the world. So here's all the items unboxed. You get a sort of a caution kind of instruction sheet on how to properly put the lanyard around your hand so you can safely use this. It is kind of strange that the picture that they're showing is of a different type of machete or knife, not this one, so they just sort of have a generic one, I guess they stick in Gerber. The sheath is pretty nice. It feels like a pretty good nylon sheath. It has stitching, and it's not double stitching, it's just regular stitching. It might be double. Can we see that? Let's see. It's hard to tell, but I get to show off how nice close-up the camera's doing. But it's reinforced with these rivets, which is really nice. So if you're not going to do double stitching, at least reinforce it, which is what they did. And you get your rescue singles to aircraft on there, as you do with most of Bear Grylls stuff. There is a loop to put on your belt. It's only carry this way, not horizontal, just vertical carry. And there's some buttons here, one here, and a strap. And let's go ahead and just try it out. And it has sort of a harder plastic inside. So I'm going to go ahead and try to keep this in the camera. Just slide this in here. And that's pretty secure, and it ain't going nowhere. Let's see if you can take it out without unbuttoning it. Nope. How about one unbutton? Not really. So you have to unbutton both of these to get it out. So it's not going to come out very quick, but if you're planning on having to get it out quick, I guess you could leave those, but it's not as secure. No, it's not secure at all. So, but it's kind of hard to make a sheath made for such a interesting shape knife. A knife, machete. Also, you get the same rescue guide that you see in all the other Bear Grylls survival series knives. This is incredible. I mean, compared to the other one, the Coleman machete that I have, this puts it to shame. This is definitely a much better quality. I'm going to put the sheath aside here and give you a comparison between the two. So you can see that this is a much more compact design, talking about the Parang, and the handle is made so much better. You can see that it's not, your hand is not going to slip. So if you are sort of holding it up for some reason and you loosen your hand, it's not going to come down. You have a hand guard right here, which is nice, as well as this gets wider here on the bottom, so as you're swinging it, if your hands get wet, it gives it something to stop. Plus, this is very grippy. Most of Bear Grylls grips are like rubbery. Some people don't like the orange, but it's very grippy and very comfortable. Now, I watched two folks' videos on this. I'm not going to go outside and test it because there's already two really good videos on YouTube, and I'll put the links below to those. One is done by Tommy Cat and the other one's done by Mafanzolo. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Okay, typically the Parang is shorter than the common machete, but the blade is usually thicker, which it is. I mean, this is very thin, but this is not bending. This is very, or much thicker in comparison. That's relatively speaking. Now, when you're swinging and cutting with this, another unique thing about the Parang is when you're coming down and you're cutting, your knuckles, like if you're cutting on a flat surface, the blade and your knuckles arrive at the same time, whereas with the Parang, when you're, let's say, chopping, you're going to use this part of the blade, and that will arrive at what you're cutting before your knuckles do. So that's sort of like an added safety feature because of the design of the Parang. Now, a real Parang, this is not a real Parang, this is a modern copy of a traditional Parang. A traditional Parang, the edge is not the same all the way like this. On a real Parang, you use this part for chopping, which is not as sharp as the other parts of the blade. You usually use this part for skinning. So like if you were skinning something, you would hold it here and you would skin something, and it would be very sharp here on this edge. And it wouldn't be as sharp here because this is where you're going to do your heavy chopping at the middle. And then over here is where you're going to do your whittling and carving and things like that. And again, this would be sharper and maybe a sort of a slightly different kind of edge. Now, just a quick note, this is a hollow ground, and it shouldn't lend itself to good chopping, but it does. If you watch those videos that I'll provide the links below, it actually does a very good job of just about everything. I'm very impressed with what I've seen. I would go outside and chop stuff, but it's raining and thundering out there, so I apologize. This blade is about 14 inches long, but your edge is about 11 inches. This is approximately based on my ruler. And you can see that there's two screws here. They look like Allen screws. So this is a full-length Tang. Now it's not a true full Tang because you don't see the actual metal here, but it's a full-length Tang. So it's coming all the way back here and bolted. The real parangs are the sort of the same way. They're not full tang. They sort of have a thin part of the blade come back, and they're usually bolted. The real Malaysian parangs are usually made out of like leaf springs from cars and all kinds of weird things, whatever they can get their hands on to make. So, although it doesn't have the nice edge, the specialized edges of the real thing, I mean, I guess if you're handy and you're good at putting different edges on it, you could do it yourself. I know some people have commented on putting an edge also here, so you can do your carving away up here, which wouldn't be too bad. Now this feels pretty solid, and let me go ahead and demonstrate how you use this lanyard. What you do is you sort of put it here like this, and then you put it around your hand up here like this. Or you could even bring it up, since there is no edge over here, you could actually bring it all the way up here, and that could help secure it. What you don't want to do is just sort of put this on your hand like this, because if you lose it and it flies off your hand, it could come back and sort of cut you. So this thing's about 1 pound 3 ounces, so it really has some good weight, and it feels like it has good balance. I mean, you don't want to balance right here. You sort of want to have it sort of balanced right where it is. It's pretty good. So it allows it, to swing. It has that weight out there, so it assists with the swinging. And when you use this, some people use something called a pinch grip. Like you could hold it with that death grip and sort of, come down, and when you get that bounce, you sort of just let it go. You let your wrist take it, and when it bounces, sort of bring it back and let it do the work. Some people also use something called a pinch grip, where they sort of let it pivot a little bit as they're chopping. Now, if you do that, this is very grippy. It's not. You would want it sort of smoother right here, so it could, maybe sort of tear up your fingers if you do that a lot. But I don't know. It doesn't feel too bad at all. Really nice. This thing would be good for the pinch grip, I guess, but by the way, this thing is only like 13, 14 ounces, so this, you could see the relative difference even in weight. Even though this is smaller, it weighs a lot more. Now, this is high carbon mystery steel. Gerber just loves their mystery steel. Now, it's not stainless steel, they just say it's high carbon steel, which means it can rust. Even stainless steel rusts, but carbon steel without any chromium will definitely rust. So if you start using this a lot, and as the finish starts coming off, which it will, you'll be exposing the bare metal to the elements, and if you don't keep a nice light coat of oil on it, it will rust. So there you have it, the Grylls Parang. I say it is a 9 out of 10. And I'll tell you what would have got me a 10 out of 10 out of this, if they actually would have made the 3 different edges. The other thing about the parang, a real parang, is that you would start out thicker and it would get thinner as you traveled up the blade away from the handle. So if they were able to duplicate that, I would have got a 10 out of 10. However, you're not going to get the price point that you're getting on this, and you're getting a lot for the price point. Can you believe 30 bucks? This is definitely a great deal for $30. I really can't recommend this enough. This is probably my favorite Grylls knife out of his survival series. I absolutely love it. I'm not sure. If you know what kind of steel it is, please put it in the comments below. And I will do my part, and I'm going to put the links to those 2 people where you could watch this get put through the test. There's 2 really good videos, like I said, and I'll be putting the links in the description box below or on the side or wherever they put it. So, one other thing I haven't tried is the customary paper test, like I usually do it all knives. Did it come sharp enough to cut paper? I hope so. Yep. It definitely came sharp enough to cut paper, so definitely sharp. Even though it doesn't feel like it's sharp, you know. When you put your fingers on it, it doesn't have that, you know, grab your fingernail kind of sharp. But they probably do that on purpose. The secondary grind is probably a little bit steeper than you normally would have on a, you know, a smaller knife. But what that does is it makes it stronger. So your edge is stronger, retain it a little bit longer than if you had a narrower edge. So, and again, you're going to be using this primarily the chop. And again, this was designed for woody kind of forage that you're sort of going around, sort of cutting your way through. So really good, and I'm very, very happy with this. So thank you very much for joining me here on the Gear Obsession channel. I really appreciate you all coming back, and if you're looking for a zombie beheader, this could be your parade. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.